Good morning or good afternoon, Tigers. Today we will be watching the instructional video on Quizzette 715. As always, please make sure that you write your last name, comma, first name at the top of your Quizzette. Today's date is November 13th, 2017, and today I'm going to say that I'm in red class. Monday number 1 says, which of the quotients are equivalent to -5? Select all that apply. Something I want you guys to be in the habit of always is to annotate your questions, highlight key terms. The two key terms in this question is quotients, which just means division. Fractions are also division expressions. And the other key word is equivalent. You know that the other word for equivalent is equal. So the question is asking which quotients, which fractions are equivalent to -5. Select all that apply. Now -5 has one negative on it. 1 is considered to be an odd number. So remember, if you have an odd amount of negatives, your answer is still negative. If you have an even amount of negatives, your answer is positive. This is only for multiplication and division. Sometimes what I'll see is I'll say, why is -2 plus -2 -4? If two numbers are negative. And students will say, oh, a negative plus a negative is positive. No. This only applies to multiplication and division, not to addition of integers. So moving on. A says 5 divided by -1. You have one negative in that quotient, so your answer is going to be negative. So this is still equal to -5. -5. So A is correct. B, you have -5 over -1. A negative divided by a negative is positive. Or you can think about this. I have 1, 2 negatives. 2 is considered even, so my answer is going to be +5. This is not equal to -5. Let's look at C. It says -15 or -15 divided by 3. 3 goes into 15 5 times, and you keep that negative. So your answer is equal or equivalent to -5. Another way you can observe it is you have one negative, and when you divide the quotient, or when you simplify the quotient, it's 5. So -5. D, -1 over 5. -1 over 5 is not equivalent to -5. This is the reciprocal, but it's not equal. So it cannot be equal. It is a reciprocal, but it's not equivalent. Remember, the reciprocal is the opposite of the number. The SMP that you're using here is looking for structure or looking for patterns. So I'll just write 7, look at structure. And you can finish that. Number 2, it says use the formula F equals 9/5 C plus 32 to convert -20 degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit. So something that you should be aware of is in the United States we use Fahrenheit, but in all the other countries of the world they use Celsius. So we always have to convert our Celsius to Fahrenheit or vice versa, Fahrenheit to Celsius. Here what you're doing is you're plugging in the number for Celsius to figure out what it is in Fahrenheit. So let's do that. So here I'm going to highlight my key terms. My key terms would definitely be Fahrenheit, which is my unit, convert, formula. These terms are not necessarily written or listed as our key vocabulary, but those are definitely the mathematical words that are expected for you to know on your exams and on your tests and as you grow in math. So we have F, which represents Fahrenheit, equals 9/5 C Celsius plus 32. And here they want you to find -20 degrees Celsius. So you would write this, F equals 9/5. And what's your Celsius? -20. So you plug it in, -20. You don't write the C, plus 32. You do have to draw that little circle at the top. That's attending to precision using the proper units. Now you can multiply. Multiply the fractions using the distributive property. So you could put a 1 under -20. 9 times -20 9 times -20 is negative 180. 5 times 1 is 5. And then keep the plus 32. Now, how many times does 5 go into negative 180? Let's see if you can calculate that faster than I can. You know your answer is going to be negative. Don't forget that negative right there. Let's see, 3, 15, 3, negative 36 plus 32. Okay, do these have the same sign or different sign? Different signs. And we're adding, so now we can sing our song. Same sign, add and keep. We don't need that. Different sign, subtract. 36 minus 32 is 4. Keep the sign of the bigger number, then you are exact. So my bigger number is negative, so I'm going to have an answer of negative 4 degrees Fahrenheit. So now the degrees Fahrenheit is negative 4 degrees. And here, the SMP that you're using is definitely SMP 1. So I can persevere on problems. You guys can fit it there better. Number 3. It says, simplify the expression by applying the distributive property. I don't know if you know this, guys. Some of you might not care, but I do love the distributive property. When I first learned this in school, this was my favorite thing because I love to draw the arrows and I love to multiply. So I hope that you guys love it as much as I do. I love the distributive property. Every time you see parentheses and there's a variable, you distribute the outside number to every single term inside the parentheses by multiplication. So negative 8, you can say has a 1 under it. What's negative 8 times negative 3? Well, negative times a negative is positive. 8 times 3 is 24. Now, what's 1 times 4? 4. And remember the x. Do not forget the x. Now, let's multiply negative 8 plus 6. A negative times a positive is positive. I'm sorry. A negative times a positive is negative. I already made a mistake, but it's okay. It's a good math scar. Now, what's 8 times 6? No, really, what's 8 times 6? 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48. I knew that. I was just checking. So our expression now is, oh, look at that. I can divide 4 into 24. Ha! Let's see. We can even make it better. 4 goes into 24 6 times. So 6x plus negative 48. And you can't add 6x to 48 because 48 would need to have an x, it would need to have a variable, or 6 would need to not have a variable, and that's the expression. The SMP that you're using here is, you can say you're modeling with math, but I think the most appropriate one would be SMP 6, attend to precision. So attend to precision. All right, Tigers, good luck on the rest of this Quizzette. It's not meant to trick you, but just make sure that you are very precise and that you box all your answers and that you double check your work if you have to on a calculator, but obviously you have to show your work, so you can't use a calculator to solve all of this. Just use it as a help. Have a great week.